First, Produce 101 Season 1 brought you the likes of i.o.i. Then, in Season 2, it brought you the boy group 101. And now, with Season 3 coming up, we have Produce48, the combination of both K-pop and J-pop. And Produce48 is largely based off J-pop's AKB48 model. Now, I must say, the Produce series is upping the ante to make the series evolve and to continue to keep the series fresh. So while the show hasn't come out just yet, let's see what the show has to offer. Now, before we talk about the preview of Produce48, let's talk about what Produce 101 is. So Produce 101 is basically the Korean television reality show where it pitted 101 contestants, and at the end, it would make a group of 11. And the motto is basically creating a new group to debut. Now, while the first 2 seasons were a smashing success with the groups i.o.i and 101, for Season 3, the producers are like, we gotta make the show more interesting. So they borrowed concepts from Japan, and they borrowed the AKB model from Akimoto Sasushi. And the concept for Produce48 is very interesting because it's going to have 96 female contestants to debut a girl group, and there's going to have 48 Korean contestants and 48 Japanese contestants. And the cool twist of the season is that the Korean fans can only vote for the Japanese fans, and the Japanese fans can only vote for the Korean fans. So there's no inherent country bias. Now let's talk about how Produce48 blends the best of both J-pop and K-pop. So to talk about Produce48, a lot of this video does need the understanding of J-pop's AKB48. So this video will largely talk about AKB structure and what is its model, since it is essential to understand the whole Produce48 concept as well as the first 2 seasons of Produce 101. So let's get started. So the first point that I'm going to talk about is that more K-pop fans know about the AKB model. Now, if you're familiar with J-pop, you probably already know the AKB48 model. After all, Produce 101 is a direct descendant from the show. It pulled so many concepts from the AKB48 model. Now, with AKB48, they have this thing called the general election. And like the general election is basically like, yeah, voting for a president or a high official. But in this case, it's the starting lineup for AKB48, and it is a huge deal. Now, if you've never seen an AKB48 election before, it's televised on live TV, and it has hundreds of thousands of viewers, if not millions, that vote in these elections to see their favorite idol or bias get voted onto the starting lineup. So the way these Japanese idols get voted is that you buy a slew of their albums and singles and their merchandise. And that way you'll see like the sales and popularity of each idol. So let's just say that there's 200,000 hardcore AKB48 fans and they buy 10 singles each. So if you multiply 200,000 times 10 or 2 million, you can definitely see how crazy the sales numbers get. And this is without any other fan memorabilia such as, posters or fan cards or whatnot. And it doesn't take a business or marketing genius to know that this idea is incredibly successful and profitable. And this is what AKB48 CEO and producer Akimoto has been doing for years with AKB48 in Asia. As for the AKB48 idols that are elected, it's an honor to be elected to one of the starting AKB teams. It opens them up to a lot of exposure and marketing. And when they do eventually graduate from AKB48, it can open up their career to solo singing, acting, or even modeling. So how does this relate to Produce 101? So for Produce 101, they also use the AKB48 model of hooking viewers in through elections. The show also documents each idol's struggle and just how hard it is to be an aspiring K-pop idol. Naturally, as the show goes on, people develop their own bias and their own favorites. So these fans don't want their favorites to lose, right? Like the AKB fans, they show up in full support during the voting days. And while Produce 101's final results aren't directly tied to sales like in AKB48, it does rely instead on just pure voting. And what better way to support your favorite idol than to vote yourself multiple times, or to tell your friends and family to vote for your favorite biases. So this relation and this feeling of one with the idol and fan brings up the next point. AKB48 promotes the regular and accessible image of idols. And with Produce 101, yeah, they got voted through like a fan vote, but the reality is pretty much all K-pop stars to the average fan and even mainstream is looked up like on here at the high point, at this pedestal. So a lot of fans in turn can't really relate to them because, you know, K-pop fans have a lot of followers on social media, and if you're a top tier idol, you probably get paid a good amount of money, and their brand is well known because, well, they're celebrities. It's one of those things where you probably will never meet a K-pop idol, but if you do, you get all fanboyish or fangirlish and you take pictures with them because it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. But with AKB48, it turns that whole formula upside down. Instead of saying, hey, we're music idols and you'll probably never meet us and put us on a pedestal like this, instead they have this girl next door image. The image of a regular girl that's aspiring to be an idol. A person that we can relate to a lot easier than your normal singer adorned by millions. In fact, AKB48's catchphrase is, idols you can meet. It's totally different from most K-pop idols where you might not meet them. And unlike K-pop groups where they might have solo concerts every 6 months to a year, AKB48 regularly performs at their AKB48 theater, which is located in the Akihabara district in Tokyo, Japan. So if you're on vacation, you can just pop into the AKB48 theater and see them perform. And after their performance, they have these meet and greet sessions where you can shake their hand or high five them. You can basically talk to them like face to face. And that rarely happens in K-pop concerts unless you shell out hundreds of dollars for a VIP pass. And adding on to this girl next door image, there's girls that work very hard that have the it factor when it comes to stage presence. But when it comes to training, they have nowhere near the polish that K-pop stars have. Now with a K-pop star, nearly every K-pop star takes anywhere from 2 to 10 years to train before they even debut. So there's stars right now that are training in 2018 that you might not see debut until 2020 or 2022. But with these AKB idols, they just push them out there after like an audition. And it comes down to that relatability factor again that many J-pop fans have for AKB48, where they say, huh, okay, they're not so good at first, but they're improving. I like that. And thus, people develop their own bias and favorites and naturally gravitate towards buying their CDs. Now, the third point is it confirms that Akimoto, as well as more and more Japanese music companies, want to go overseas. Now, AKB48 is based in Japan, but they're not the only AKB group out there. There's a lot of AKB sister groups in Japan, such as NMB48 for Namba 48, which is a popular neighborhood in Osaka, as well as groups outside of Japan, such as JKT48 or Jakarta 48 and SNH48 or Shanghai 48. They love that 48 number. Now, Akimoto knows that if he can branch more internationally to say Africa or Europe or North or South America, and even just scratch the surface of the music fans there and appeal to them, his brand will be known more internationally outside of Asia, the way that K-pop is. So Akimoto is thinking to himself like, huh, which country in Asia has like the fresh trendy music these days? And he's like, got it, Korea. So he tag teams with Korea and MNet for, well, Produce48. The exposure that many Korean natives, as well as overseas K-pop fans will get by watching Produce48 will bring a whole new audience to Akimoto's AKB groups, and it gives exposure to fans in Japan to learn more about K-pop, and it could even lead to a mini Hallyu wave boom once again in Japan. Well, time will tell. And the fourth point is it could possibly make Korea-Japan relations better. And if you guys know anything about Japan, Korea, or both countries, relations aren't really the greatest. But I do have faith that Produce48 could mend those relations a little bit better. I feel that music, the arts and entertainment has that power of doing that. And one recent example is JYP Entertainment's group, TWICE. And TWICE is known for having a multicultural group, and they have 3 members from Japan who are wildly popular in Korea, as well as 1 Taiwanese member. And TWICE is one of the few K-pop groups popular in Japan. So, which leads us to Produce48. And I feel that if Produce48 does this right, it's going to attract a new legion of fans from Korea that might take a liking to J-pop, and new fans from Japan that might rekindle their interest in K-pop. And 5, it further shows that anything that the Produce series touches will turn to gold and most likely be successful. With Produce 101 Season 1, it was i.o.i. In 2016, i.o.i. was one of the top female groups, and a lot of fans were actually saying that i.o.i. should be a permanent group. And with Season 2, it was 101, and 101 is currently the rage in Korea. And I know they're popular overseas as well, and it just shows the Midas touch that the Produce series has. It turned 11 girls from Produce 101 Season 1 and 11 boys from Season 2, that the majority of them were unknowns at the point because they were training, and it turned them to overnight sensations right away. And with Produce 48, I'm predicting that the final members that get chosen, 6 Japanese girls and 6 Korean girls, that they'll be thrust into the limelight from relative obscurity from just a couple months ago when they were just auditioning and applying to the show. So right now, there's no official list of which idols from Japan or Korea that will be on the show. Right now, I've heard there's going to be members from AKB48 sister groups such as NMB48, and SNH48, and maybe JKT48 applying to this show, as well as members from established K-pop groups. We'll see who makes the final roster for the auditions when Produce 48 comes out. So guys, it's over to you. What do you guys think about the upcoming show, Produce 48? Are you guys a fan of Produce 101 Seasons 1 and 2? Are you guys a fan of i.o.i and 101? Heck, are you guys a fan of music reality TV shows? I'd love to hear your comments in the comments below. And if you guys want to learn about K-pop where it's fun and entertaining at the same time, then please download my free ebook called The 10 Most Important Lessons I Learned to Break into the K-pop Industry as Media. It's a good read, and I think you'll like it, if I say so myself. So with that being said, I'm off to watch another K-pop music video, but I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, guys.